Good morning to you all. Continuing our discussion on the fermentation process and the equipment design. In the last session, we were discussing about the basic principles when applied in a multi-scale framework to understand the fermentation process. And we were also discussing about the distinct features, that is, two distinct features of modern fermentation biotechnology. That is number one, the technology, and number two, the type of the product that is being harvested. So in today's session, we will discuss in detail about the factors that govern the fermentation process. So essentially, we are trying to understand the fermentation fundamentals and also the rate limiting factors that are contributed in the fermentation process. So if you just recollect that the biological process is the overall reaction of several metabolic reactions, and we know that the reaction network is very much complicated, but there are certain constraints so that the overall stoichiometry has to be satisfied at all times. Although the reaction network may be complicated, there are certain constraints so that the overall stoichiometry has to be satisfied at all time points. Now, the stoichiometry is about the quantitative relationships among the substances that are taking part in the reaction process. Right. So, the stoichiometry or the kinetics is very much important in understanding the fermentation process. So we know that the fermentation process has two important components. It is governed by two important components. Number one, the microbial conversion kinetics and the stoichiometry of the process reaction. And number two, the fermenter transport phenomena. Right. So there are two components. Number one, the microbial conversion kinetics and the stoichiometry of the reaction. And number two, the fermenter transport phenomena. So as said earlier, stoichiometry is about the molar ratios of the compounds that are taking part in the chemical reaction. Okay, so the objective of fermentation process is to produce the desired product in higher yield as much as possible from the substrate molecules. So there are two important things to be remembered: microbial conversion kinetics and the stoichiometry of the process reaction is on one side, and the fermenter transport phenomenon is on the other side. So the fermentation process is governed by these two components, and the main goal is to produce the desired product in higher yield as much as possible from the substrate molecules. Now, how is this made possible? The substrates must be catabolized to provide energy, to drive biomass synthesis, for product formation, and also for cell maintenance. The sub-reactions for product and biomass, they consume oxygen in excess, but they need biological energy. And this energy is most efficiently generated in the aerobic system, wherein the oxygen consuming catabolism gives maximal oxidation of the carbon source to yield carbon dioxide. Right. So the product sub-reaction is the most important one, as it gives the theoretical limit for the yield. And it also speaks about the fate of other essential molecules. Why it is important? Why this product sub-reaction stoichiometry is very, very important? since it is giving the theoretical maximum limit. See, always a fermentation reaction will have a theoretical limit of the product yield and the practical limit of the product yield. Both the theoretical and practical limit of the product yield may not always be same because of several other reasons. So this particular product subreaction is the most important as it gives the theoretical limit for the yield of the product, and also it decides upon the fate of other essential molecules. So if you carefully look at this table, these are the examples of theoretical product reactions of glucose into bioproducts and theoretical maximum products. The yield of theoretical maximum product. So what we see over here is that the actual product yield of glucose is 0.69 moles of product per mole of the substrate. Now this is significantly lower than the theoretical maximum, which is 1.09 moles of the product per mole of the substrate. Okay, so carefully observe this. So this table is about the examples of theoretical product reactions of the glucose. So here you can observe that the actual product yield of the glucose is 0.69, which is significantly lower than the theoretical maximum, that is 1.09, that is expected. Now why there is so much of difference? The difference is because of the growth factor and excess consumption of the oxygen. For what reason? For the purpose of energy generation. So thus the stoichiometry depends on two factors. Number one, the specific growth rate, which is denoted as mu, and the specific product formation rate, which is denoted as QP. Okay, so what we are trying to understand over here is the stoichiometry of a process reaction is dependent upon the specific growth rate, which in turn is dependent upon the availability of the oxygen for the purpose of generation of energy. And the second factor is the specific product formation rate. So on both of these factors, the stoichiometry of process reaction is dependent. So if you look at this graph, what we see here is that at the given mu, that is the specific growth rate, all biomass specific reaction rates are directly coupled to the process reaction. So what is the output? There is improvement in the rate of product formation and the metabolic efficiency, thus resulting in lower glucose and oxygen requirements and lower carbon dioxide and heat production. Okay, so moving on to the next component, it is about the operation modes. How best you use the invested utilities to the maximum. We all know that fermentations can be run in different modes. The first one is the batch mode, where all the nutrients are present in excess from the start itself. It's a simple mode of fermentation, but in many cases, it maximizes the cell growth but not the formation of the desired product. And further, it does not utilize the invested utilities. Now, what are these invested utilities? The oxygen transfer, heat removal, mixing, carbon dioxide removal. So it does not utilize the invested utilities in an efficient way. So the maximum possible mass and heat transfer rates and mixing are used only at the end of a batch reaction. Right. So in batch mode, the nutrients are present in the excess from the beginning itself. It maximizes the cell growth but not the formation of the desired product, and it does not utilize the invested utilities in an efficient way, but the maximal mass and heat transfer rates and mixing are used only at the end of the batch reaction. So in batch fermentation, the substrate and microorganisms are loaded into the fermenter in batches. Okay, but there is an important advantage of this batch mode. The batch fermentation has the advantages of low investment cost. It is simple control and operations and easy to maintain complete sterilization. But seed culture is required for each new batch of the reaction. Okay. Why it does not give the desired product? Though there is maximum growth of the organism, it does not give the desired product to the desired concentration. Say for example, higher initial sugar concentration is required in order to achieve more efficient ethanol production. Okay. However, this higher sugar concentration will inhibit the growth and functioning or the active functioning of the fermenting microorganisms due to excessive osmosis. So what is the result of this? The result is low fermentation yield with a prolonged fermentation period. So this is the major drawback of the batch fermentation. So therefore, fed batch processes have been developed. So this fed batch process can maximize the formation of the product by controlling the specific growth rate, that is mu, at an optimal level and operate with maximal use of the invested utilities for longer period of time. And this fed batch fermentation is also called as semi-continuous fermentation. That means it refers to feeding fresh medium or the required nutrients intermittently or continuously during the process of the fermentation. You need not wait till the completion of the fermentation reaction, as seen in the case of batch fermentation. So you can add the fresh medium or certain nutrients intermittently or continuously during the process of batch fermentation. Okay, so typically a fermenter or a fermenting unit, it normally operates around 8,000 hours per year. So 1 year is about 8,760 hours, and the plant normally operates around 8,000 hours per year, and the remaining 760 hours are for the maintenance and other planned stop gaps. So among these, out of these 8,000 hours, only a part is used for the main goal of the fermentation. What is the main goal of the fermentation? That is produce the product at optimal rate and with efficiency, utilizing the maximal capacity of invested utilities, that is compressors, stirrer motor, cooling equipment, and so on and so forth. So out of the 8,760 hours, 8,000 hours is dedicated for the fermentation operation, and 760 hours is for the maintenance and other planned stops. Out of 8,000 hours, only a small part of that is used for the or to achieve the main goal of the fermentation, that is produce the product at optimal rate and with maximum efficiency, using the maximal capacity of the invested utilities. Okay, so in batch and fed batch processes, there are three phases or three periods during which the fermenter does not use the utilities to the maximum. So this is true both in case of batch fermentation process and fed batch fermentation process. There are three phases wherein the utilities are not used to the maximum. Number one, preparation of new batch. The plant has to be prepared for a new batch of fermentation. So that includes sterilization and filling of the raw source. So the utilities are not utilized to the maximum. And second period, startup of new batch. So with a period first to grow enough biomass before entering the stage of high productivity. So this is another period where the fermenter does not use the utilities to the maximum. And the third period is the end of fermentation. That is emptying and cleaning the vessel, sometimes scheduling the constraints which results in extra waiting period. Right. So in batch or in fed batch processes, there are three phases during which the fermenter does not utilize the utilities to the maximum. If the utilities are not utilized to the maximum, then the yield of the product will not be very high and will not be with more efficiency. The process will not be with more efficiency. The three periods are: number one, preparation of a new batch, the startup of a new batch, and the end of fermentation. Right. So the objective is to minimize the duration of these three phases because they are not utilizing the utilities to the maximum. So minimize the duration of these three phases or periods, but they cannot be completely avoided. You cannot completely avoid these three phases, be it in batch fermentation methods or fed batch fermentation method. There has to be cleaning, there has to be removal of the spent medium, there has to be sterilization. So you cannot avoid in batch or fed batch process. But the objective is to minimize the duration of these three periods so that you end up with a maximum yield of the product with maximum efficiency of the process. On the contrary, only in continuous operation it is possible to most efficiently use the vested utilities. Right. In continuous operation, in aerobic processes, that is still far from the reality. But in anaerobic processes where the product pathway delivers the biological energy, we don't see the denaturation that is occurring, and continuous process is feasible. But in aerobic process, due to metabolic instabilities, especially associated with product reactions that consume metabolic energy, and possible errors in the sensors, that is technical failures, and microbial contaminations, when we take up the prolonged cultures, the feasibility of aerobic process is still far from the reality because of metabolic instabilities which are associated with the product reactions and the technical failures. Say for example sensors, if there is a failure in the sensor, then because it is in a continuous mode, then there could be microbial contaminations. The product that is being formed may not be sensed by the vessel. So the feasibility of the fermentation process is not met. But in anaerobic process, where the product delivers the biological energy, the degeneration does not occur, and the process is feasible. The feasibility is met. Okay. Next component is the transport limitations. In large scale industrial fermenters which are operated in fed batch mode, the maximum production rate of the product is not determined by the organisms, but it is determined by a limiting fermenter transport process. Right. So the majority of aerobic fermentation process, the limiting step is either number 1 the mass transfer, number 2 the heat transfer, and number 3 liquid mixing. In mass transfer, it is about the supply of oxygen or carbon dioxide removal, and in heat transfer it is about the cooling or on rare occasions heating too. And in liquid mixing it is about to distribute added compounds from the inlet point to the full space of the reactor vessel. So these are some of the limiting steps in the transport component: the mass transfer, the heat transfer, or the liquid mixing. For anaerobic process, the electrons from the substrates finally end up in the main product. So what is happening? It is leaving little metabolic energy for the microbial growth, and therefore the amount of cells usually limits the production rate, and mixing plays a very minor role over here. So in anaerobic process, the electrons from the substrate finally end up in the product. That means a little metabolic energy is left for microbial growth, and therefore the amount of cells usually limits the production rate. So lesser cells, lesser production rate. So it is the amount of the cells which is limiting the production rate. Clear? Now next component is scale dependency of flow regimes and transport. The scope is for higher transport rates, and therefore transport is usually convective or by transfer between two phases. It is between the gas and the liquid phase. The transfer rates can be described by three terms. Number one, the transfer coefficient, the transfer area, and the driving force. So all these three terms are the function of a scale, geometry, and the power input. The transfer coefficient, the transfer area, and the driving force. Right. Now about biomass retention. In anaerobic process as well as in aerobic process, which are optimized for product yield, or in processes with slow growing microorganisms or slow growing mammalian cells, the maximal growth rate and biomass yield are low. Right? Whether it is in anaerobic process as well as in aerobic process, or in process with slow growing microorganisms or in mammalian cells, the maximal growth rate, it is slow, so the biomass yield is also low. Since the growth rate is slow and biomass yield are low, there is little or no demand for oxygen and there is no heat evolution. So heat evolution is minimal, and a transportation limitation may well be absent in such case. Right. So a well-known limit is the byproduct toxicity. So to keep this inhibiting concentration, that is byproduct which is toxic to the reaction itself, this requires the removal of liquid without removing the biomass. Right. So the solution to both the problems can be obtained by implementing the cell retention or cell cycle recycle systems. Right. So the keeping the cells in a reactor while feeding fresh substrate and removing cell-free liquid with the toxic byproduct, it increases the cell biomass. But the important point is you require a smaller or much smaller fermenting vessel, because you are continuously removing the liquid which has the byproduct which is toxic to the reaction. So you require a smaller size fermenter vessel. So the principle over here is the cell retention or cell recycle system. So you are removing only the liquid with a byproduct which is toxic, but you are keeping up the biomass or the cell mass. Okay. So I'll stop over here. In the next session, we'll try to understand in detail about the principles of fermentation. Thank you very much.